The FBI has been found again to be snooping in Catholic churches. Now, for Loopcast listeners, regular listeners here, I think our most successful episode ever, congratulations, Erica, was when you had Kyle Seraphin, FBI whistleblower, come on and talk about how there were these tags that were being put on radical traditionalist Catholics. And that was not a one-off issue. It turns out the FBI actually inside of the document said, quote, tripwire and source development in mainline Catholic churches and traditional Latin masses. Notice the distinction there.
Did you say mainline Catholic churches?
Yeah. Mainline Catholic churches and traditional Latin masses.
That doesn't have echoes to the 70s. In all throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, anytime there was a major development in mainline Protestant churches, it was major news in the New York Times. And now it's like no one cares because who goes to mainline Protestant churches anymore?
Yeah. Or who goes to church anymore?
To most Catholic churches in the United States as mainline Catholic parishes. Man, I'm not a Latin masser, but if that didn't make Latin Mass seem that much more based and awesome to have the rest of them called mainline.
Yeah.
Now, don't you come at me with all these people like, oh, the Loop is so pro Latin Mass, you guys are obnoxious. I always love that argument. It's like, I don't even go to the Latin Mass. I'm just saying, like, don't squash it like a bug. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, and if you do go to those masses, make sure when you hug your fellow parishioners, you check them for a wire, because it turns out that the FBI has admitted in this document that there were plenty of feds attending masses and trying to develop sources within Catholic churches.
There was at least one.
Well,
just to correct the story, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Okay, so there's going to be more. There's going to be more.
Just so we're clear, obviously agents of the FBI who are Catholic go to Mass. We're talking about someone who's going to Mass in order to try to find out what's going on there.
And develop sources.
What? Do we not have the First Amendment? Like, what is going on here? Like, we have the freedom to exist, you people.
Yeah.
It just drives me crazy. And that was why, do you catch the committee hearing? It was so hilarious. Like, the Republican from New Jersey, Jeff Van Drew, he's a new Republican. He just flipped over like within the last couple of years. And he just asked, he had these guys from it was the Weaponization subcommittee. And he had these guys from the FBI and he goes, I just love this. He goes, is it okay to be a Roman Catholic? And it's just like silence, right? Like, that's a question. I'd like someone to answer my question,
Please.
They're like, oh, well, yeah,
it's a great
clip. Yeah, I'll answer. Yeah, it's okay. It's
so
like, thanks,
bad.
Bro.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. Just like he had the chain link wristlet, and he just looked like the most New Jersey dude ever. Hit him in a New Jersey accent with, "Is it okay to be Catholic?" So anyway, Josh, I don't think people are super familiar with this weaponization committee, and I think it's more important than people realize. So could you just run us through the facts on this committee and how we got this?
Yeah, the weaponization subcommittee, the idea behind this was that Republicans, as they were running for Congress, it said, if we get control of the House, we're going to have a committee to investigate the DOJ and the FBI and all the stuff that they're doing. And for the most part, I think the animating desire behind them on this was like social media. You had companies like Facebook and Twitter suppressing stories. You had this situation where the FBI was like sending messages to Twitter saying, hey, could you kind of axe these accounts? Like remove people from Twitter because they're spreading information we don't like. Like the fact that anyone would not just vomit. If you have an understanding of what it means to be a free people, that you would allow the FBI to send messages to Twitter and Facebook, delete these accounts. Like, if you want to talk about something that would make Thomas Jefferson spontaneously combust in flames, he'd be so angry. So I think that was like the animating principle behind what we got to form a committee to look into this stuff, and they are looking into all this stuff. But then the Catholic stuff comes along, and it's like, wait a minute, what? Like, I think a lot of these Republicans were like surprised, and they hit a gold mine. Like they probably didn't occur to them as they're thinking about this. Like, we got to investigate what they're doing in big tech. We got to investigate what they're doing on Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff. And they're like, wait a minute, there's FBI agents that are like going to a Catholic Mass to check out what's going on. And and find out if they're, radicals and if there's like somehow associated with white supremacy and all this other stuff. It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. And again, it doesn't totally seem completely far-fetched when you think about it. Like, this is the same FBI that told guys in Chicago, the FBI office in Chicago, you know what? I know, like, for 20, 30 years, we've had a priest come in and provide ashes on your foreheads because it would be kind of disruptive of, like, all the FBI agents who are Catholic just up and left and went to mass during the middle of the day. We'll have a priest come by and put ashes on their foreheads. And this year, they're like, yeah, no, can't do that. We're not letting them come in. And you're like, what? And it's like, and we have a military, right? Because of Biden, who's supposedly Catholic, and Lloyd Austin, the defense, the Secretary of Defense, who's supposedly Catholic,
yeah.
pushing all this pro-abortion stuff, right? And then they turn around and they say to Walter Reed, "Oh, we're ending our contract right so there won't be any masses at Walter Reed Hospital right before during Holy Week." And so you're seeing up and down the line an FBI, a DOJ, a military that is not just, they've gone from being accepting of religion to being absolutely hostile. Catholics need to open their eyes, wake up and see what's going on. And Jim Jordan, the guy who's the chairman of this subcommittee on weaponization, he is not Catholic. He's just trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. I appreciate, like, Congressman Jeff Van Drew saying, hey, I mean, I'm not even the best Catholic. Like,
I miss
some
sometimes.
Sundays. Yeah.
It was a great
But
clip.
I mean, this just seems kind of wrong. And he's like thinking to himself, like, you go to mass on Sunday, doesn't really feel like a hotbed of radicalism. Like,
yeah,
give me a break.
Especially a mainline parish.
His follow-up question was, what is radical Catholic ideology? Like, what?
Yeah.
And then so some of these clips are actually going some kind of viral on social media. And if for some reason, I mean, we post to all platforms, right? So we're on TikTok, and all of a sudden we're getting a ton of views on TikTok. And this was one of them. And someone in the comments, it was so funny. I was reading through the comments, and the guy's like, radical Catholic ideology is da-da-da-da-da-da. I just Googled it. Like, why is this such a hard thing for you to understand? And of course, everyone below that, like, there's no such thing. There's no such, like, did you put that in chat GPT and it spit that back at you? Like, there's no such thing as radical Catholic ideology. It's not a thing. And of course, it's tied to white supremacy and this and that, which of course, all that's BS and it's all made up. You want to talk about real misinformation? That's misinformation.
He probably got it from the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Exactly,
He
yeah.
Googled it, went
group.
straight to their website. It was like, oh.
Yeah, their lawyers just got back from the Antifa riot down the road. But anyway, some of the language in this document was hilarious, and I'm excited to announce there's a subpoena for all other information. And guess what? It's going to be in front of the American people. I can promise you that. But the agency aimed to sensitize, quote unquote, sensitize Catholic churchgoers to, quote, to the warning signs of radicalization, end quote, and enlist their assistants to serve as suspicious activity tripwires. What are we talking? This is like out of a TV show. What are we talking about? Someone's been watching too much, I don't know, NCIS or FBI late night TV shows.
Teaching Catholics to report on their fellow Catholics for radical ideology. Yeah.
We here at CatholicVote, we're trying to get to the bottom of this. So just to give our listeners a little heads up here, on March 6th, we filed a Freedom of Information Act request with the FBI in Richmond, Virginia. That was the field office where they had that report on, the traditionalist Catholics and all this stuff. So we're asking them for all the communications involving that memo. And so the way it works with these things, like there's the law with the Freedom of Information Act law, and as well as court precedents for stuff like this. There are norms associated with this, and it requires the agency to respond within 20 business days, okay? They sometimes can ask for like an additional 10 days for unusual circumstances, right? So 30 days, if they really want to drag it out. But here it is, April, 12, 13, whatever, and we still haven't heard from these guys. We haven't had any response. So our legal team at CatholicVote, we're prepared to bring a lawsuit within the next 10 days if we do not hear from them, as we are entitled to by law. This delay, this inaction, of course, is associated with, investigating and prosecuting the violence and vandalism being committed against pregnancy centers and Catholic churches, that our top law enforcement institutions have demonstrated a pattern of hostility against Catholics and all people of faith. We are not backing down here at Catholic Vote. It's unacceptable. And it's interesting. Just hit the wires within the last 24 hours. The President Biden's Justice Department has given a sweetheart plea deal to a person who vandalized a Catholic church with profane graffiti, destroying a statue of the Virgin Mary, assaulting a church worker, and resisting arrest. And I think it's because this vandal, was someone who claims to be transgender. And so I think the Justice Department is using total kid gloves. It just drives me absolutely bonkers. We have a Justice Department that's totally politicized and weaponized, the FACE Act. And, we demand justice on this.
Yeah. And just to contrast that sweet deal that they're giving to this person with the treatment of Mark Houck, that he had to go through the whole court system. He had to suffer through that trial, all because he defended his son.
And face the possibility of 11 years in jail.
11 years in jail.
Years. Yeah, there was no...
Long barrel rifles in his home. I doubt they showed up to his house
without telling him. And even the deal he was offered
it.
Included prison time. So it's just, which he didn't take. Good for him.
Yeah, did they send a SWAT team after this person that vandalized the church?
No.
Where there were like dozens of cars?
Optics. They identified the wrong way. So, yeah, we're on this, and I think there's actually a lot of, this is discouraging that there's so much persecution going on. First off, it's not the first time Christians have been persecuted in history, and I doubt it'll be the last. And then also, there's a lot of encouraging signs within government in terms of the Committee on Weaponization, some of these big wins that we're bringing up here. We're going to get a lot of information. Catholic Vote's a part of getting that information, so really encouraging, and I encourage you all to stay tuned. Like, we are going to be getting some very primary source stuff here coming up. So that's my pitch. If you guys aren't subscribed right now, go on over, subscribe on all platforms. We want to be in your inbox every Thursday. And when we do bonus episodes, we have a good bonus episode coming up here. You'll be ready for it.